Hey friends, tonight we're traveling back almost 2,000 years to a city that laughed, traded, and lived beneath the shadow of a silent mountain, Pompeii. This isn't the fiery Hollywood version. It's quieter, more human. Bakers pulling loaves from ovens, children playing in the streets, families sharing wine in courtyards, completely unaware that above them, Vesuvius was waking up. So get comfortable, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And if you enjoy drifting into the past with me, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now close your eyes if you'd like, because you're about to wake up in Pompeii on a warm summer morning in the year 79 AD. Imagine, if you will, a warm evening in the summer of the year 79 AD. The air is soft, the kind that lingers after a day of sunlight, carrying with it the faint perfume of olive groves and vineyards. Ahead lies a city, vibrant yet calm, resting at the foot of a mountain whose slopes roll down into fields of green and gold. This city is Pompeii, a place of narrow streets and open courtyards, a mosaic of voices and footsteps, and a home to thousands of men, women, and children going about their daily lives. Let us step inside, not hurriedly, but with gentle curiosity, as if we are wandering through a dream. The stone roads stretch before us, laid out in neat, careful patterns. Between the paving blocks, traces of cart wheels are etched, grooves made by years of travel. The streets are not wide, but they are alive, and even in their quietness they carry the pulse of Roman life. On either side rise the walls of villas and shops, their exteriors colored in shades of ochre, red, and soft cream. Painted signs linger at doorways, some advertising taverns, others marking the homes of merchants. Above the doors, wooden shutters rest half open, letting in the summer air. From within, you might hear the clink of pottery, or the soft notes of a lyre being tuned. The city feels awake, yet not rushed, as though time itself moves at a slower rhythm here. As we walk deeper into Pompeii, fountains greet us at the corners of intersections. Carved from stone, their spouts are shaped like faces, sometimes a god, sometimes a creature of myth. Clear water flows continuously, supplied by the aqueducts that thread across the land, feeding the city with abundance. The water splashes gently, catching glimmers of sunlight in droplets that arc and fall, offering refreshment to passers-by. A child pauses, cupping his hands beneath the stream, laughing as the coolness spills between his fingers. Beyond the fountains, the heart of Pompeii reveals itself in the marketplaces. Here, the air carries the fragrance of baked bread, of spices imported from distant lands, of fruit ripening in baskets. Merchants arrange their stalls with careful hands, figs and grapes, olives glistening with oil, wheels of cheese wrapped in cloth, amphorae of wine sealed with wax. The market is not frantic, but steady, as neighbors exchange words, bargains, and smiles. Step further, and you'll notice the villas, homes of elegance and quiet pride. Their entrances open into atriums where sunlight streams through open roofs, falling into shallow pools that ripple with reflections. Walls are painted with frescoes, gardens that bloom endlessly in pigment, mythological scenes of gods and heroes, landscapes that seem to stretch beyond the confines of plaster. Floors shimmer with mosaics, tiny tesserae arranged in patterns of dolphins, vines, and geometric designs. These spaces are not only homes, but sanctuaries of art and life, each whispering the story of a family, their lineage, and their dreams. And between the villas and the shops, narrow alleyways wind, leading into quieter corners. Here, cats stroll lazily, curling themselves upon steps warmed by the day's sun. The sound of sandals upon stone fades, replaced by distant voices carried on the breeze. It feels as though every turn holds a secret, perhaps a hidden garden, or the doorway of a workshop where a craftsman shapes clay into vessels destined for trade. Above it all, Mount Vesuvius rises in the distance, vast and silent. To the people of Pompeii, it is simply a mountain, a familiar guardian, its slopes clothed in vineyards and groves. Its presence is steady, unthreatening, blending into the rhythm of life like the sea beyond the horizon. Few pause to wonder at its shadow. It is simply there, part of the backdrop of existence. As dusk begins to fall, lamps flicker into life along the streets. Flames dance behind small glass panes, their glow reflected in the polished stones. A gentle hush spreads through the city as work ends and families gather within their homes. The city does not fall into darkness, but into a different kind of life. The quiet talk of neighbors sharing wine, the laughter of children drifting out from courtyards, the strum of music carried on the air. It is easy, in such a place, to forget the march of time. Life unfolds in simple patterns. The opening of shops at dawn, the chatter of the forum at midday, the cooling of air in the evening. Pompeii is a city balanced between energy and stillness, where each day feels much like the last, familiar and reassuring. Imagine walking once more along the main street, lined with stepping stones that rise above the flow of water running through channels. The stones guide your path, your pace unhurried. The night sky opens above, scattered with stars, while the mountain rests in the distance, silent and dark against the heavens. In this moment, Pompeii feels eternal, as though it could remain forever as it is. Its walls painted with color, its streets alive with voices, its people at peace beneath the southern sky. Yet, unseen by them, time carries a hidden current. Beneath the calm streets, beneath the solid earth, forces stir quietly, patiently. For now, though, Pompeii knows only the comfort of ordinary days, live beneath the shadow of a mountain they believe will never wake. And so the city sleeps, just as you, dear listener, may find yourself drifting into rest. The fountains still murmur, the lamps still flicker, and the mountain still watches. Pompeii breathes gently in the night, unaware of what the days ahead will bring. But that is for later. For now, let us leave the city as it is, vibrant and calm, a place of life and light. Tomorrow, we will meet its people more closely, merchants and bakers, farmers and nobles, all living their days, each with a story of their own, each adding a thread to the fabric of Pompeii. As dawn spreads its first light across the Bay of Naples, the city of Pompeii awakens once more. The streets, which only hours ago lay hushed beneath a canopy of stars, now begin to stir with the presence of its people. If the city's walls and fountains are its bones, then its people are its living breath, filling each corner with movement, with stories, with warmth. Let us wander slowly through these streets and meet them, not as characters in history, but as neighbors in a timeless village. For though centuries separate us, the patterns of their days still feel familiar, and in them we glimpse something deeply human. At the edge of the marketplace, merchants are among the first to rise. Their stalls are simple wooden frames, shaded by cloth awnings set carefully upon the worn stone. Amphorae of wine are lifted into place, fruits are arranged in orderly baskets, and bolts of cloth are unfurled to catch the morning sun. A fishmonger rinses his wares with water drawn from a nearby fountain, the scent of the sea still clinging to the scales. His voice calls out softly, offering fresh catch to early buyers, wives of farmers, perhaps, or cooks gathering supplies for a villa's midday meal. Not far away, the bakers are already at work. Their ovens, round and stone-built, radiate warmth as dough rises and hardens into loaves. The smell of bread drifts into the streets. Mingling with the sharper tang of olives and the sweetness of figs, a boy hurries past, clutching a loaf in both hands, still steaming from the fire. His laughter rings as he bites into the crust, unconcerned by the heat. And there are children everywhere. In courtyards, they chase each other around columns, their sandals slapping lightly against mosaic floors. In side streets, they draw shapes in dust with sticks, their games echoing the universal playfulness of youth. Some accompany parents to the market, tugging at tunics, eyes wide at the variety of goods on display. Others are apprentices already, carrying small tools, learning to carve wood or shape bronze under the watchful eye of elders. Their voices are high and untroubled, filling the city with a brightness that even the most ordinary day cannot dim. The farmers, meanwhile, have returned from fields that lie just beyond the city walls. With the fertile soil gifted by Vesuvius, they bring baskets brimming with grapes, olives, and grains. Their faces are tanned by the sun, their hands roughened, but their demeanor is calm and steady. For them, the land is both labor and livelihood, an eternal rhythm of planting, tending, and harvest. Then there are the nobles, the wealthy families whose villas line Pompeii's finer streets. Reclining upon couches in their atriums, they are served meals of fruit and bread by attentive slaves. Their garments, dyed in shades of deep purple or soft blue, mark their status. They speak of politics, of trade routes, of theater performances, their voices measured and assured. Yet even in their grandeur, they too are simply part of the city's living weave, relying on bakers for bread, on farmers for grain, on craftsmen for tools. Craftsmen, in fact, shape much of Pompeii's daily life. In workshops lit by small windows, potters mold clay, spinning vessels that will hold wine or oil. Bronze smiths strike their hammers against glowing metal, creating lamps, jewelry, and statues both large and small. Painters grind pigments, preparing to adorn villa walls with images that will outlast lifetimes. Each stroke, each chisel mark, adds to the hum of the city, a quiet rhythm of creation and skill. In the taverns, conversations linger into morning hours. Sailors newly arrived from the harbor sit alongside local townsmen, sharing wine, sharing stories of distant lands. Their laughter spills into the streets, softened by the sound of sandals passing, of dogs barking gently in courtyards. The taverns are places of both business and ease, where contracts might be sealed over a cup, or friendships kindled by the warmth of shared drink. The slaves of Pompeii, too, move through these spaces, unseen by history but central to the life of the city. Some carry water jars balanced carefully on their shoulders, others sweep courtyards or tend fires. Their presence is quiet, their roles many, yet without them the smooth rhythm of the villas would falter. Even they, within their labors, are part of this great mosaic of life, shaping the city as much as the marble and stone themselves. Among the crowds, there are healers and midwives, figures whose hands bring comfort and care. There are teachers, guiding children in the art of letters and numbers. There are priests, tending to the altars of small household shrines, as well as the larger temples where incense burns in honor of gods. Each person, whether of wealth or simplicity, whether of freedom or servitude, carries within them a fragment of Pompeii's soul. And as the day stretches on, we see the interwoven fabric of this community more clearly. Neighbors pause to greet one another in the streets. A baker hands a small crust to a child who cannot pay. A farmer sets aside a handful of grapes for a widow who comes often to market. These moments, gentle and ordinary, weave together to form a city that is not merely stone, but compassion, connection, and shared humanity. It is easy, in such scenes, to forget that centuries separate us from these people. Their laughter, their meals, their labor, and their leisure all feel so near, as though we might step into their circle and be welcomed as one of their own. And when evening comes, they too return to their homes, to rest after the rhythm of the day. Some dine in tricliniums, reclining on couches as servants bring platters of roasted meats, bread, olives, and wine. Others eat simply in courtyards, gathered closely with family. The sound of voices drifts into the warm night, and lanterns glow in doorways. In their lives, there is no sense of what waits beyond the horizon of time. For them, each day flows into the next, steady as the tides. And in that steadiness, there is comfort, a reminder that human life, no matter the century, finds its rhythm in shared meals, in work, in laughter, in the voices of children at play. So let us leave the people of Pompeii for now, merchants and bakers, farmers and nobles, craftsmen and children. They breathe life into the city, filling its streets with sound, color, and warmth. Tomorrow, we shall walk among their temples, their theaters, their baths, and their art, discovering the culture that binds them together. For tonight, let their lives settle gently into your thoughts, a reminder of the universality of simple human moments. Pompeii rests once more, its people gathered in homes, as lamps flicker softly in the night. The people of Pompeii did not live only by bread and work. Their city was a place not just of survival, but of culture, of art, of ritual, and of gathering. To walk through Pompeii is to see not only homes and markets, but also temples, theaters, baths, and paintings that tell the story of a civilization deeply connected to beauty, belief, and shared experience. Imagine, then, that morning has stretched into late day. The sun is high, pouring golden light onto the rooftops. Shadows draw long across the paving stones as people make their way toward the Forum, the great open square at the heart of the city. Here, the voices of Pompeii gather. The Forum is a wide expanse, framed by columns that march in orderly lines, their marble bright against the blue sky. At its center, men speak in measured tones, debating trade, laws, and matters of civic life. Merchants bring their goods here as well, displaying pottery, cloth, and jewelry, while scribes mark records with ink upon wax tablets. The hum of conversation fills the air, blending into a steady rhythm, serious yet calm. At one end of the Forum rises the Temple of Jupiter, its steps broad, its columns tall. To the people of Pompeii, this temple anchors the city, a place where the gods are honored and strength is drawn. Incense drifts upward in faint curls of smoke, carrying with it the prayers of those who kneel before the altar. To pass through its portico is to step into cool shadow, the air scented with offerings of oil, wine, and flowers. Here, belief ties the people to something greater than themselves, something eternal. But the Forum holds more than solemnity. It is a place of meeting and mingling, of neighbors exchanging greetings, of children chasing one another between columns, of elders resting upon stone benches and recalling the memories of their youth. It is, in many ways, the heart of Pompeii's cultural life. From the Forum, we may wander to the theaters. Pompeii holds two, one large, one smaller, each crafted in sweeping stone arcs. The larger amphitheater, capable of holding thousands, rises with tiered seats that curve around a central stage. On performance days, citizens gather here, their voices buzzing with anticipation, awaiting the plays of Roman drama, comedies filled with wit, tragedies weighted with emotion. The smaller Odeon, more intimate, hosts music, poetry, and recitations. Imagine the sound of a lyre filling the space, notes floating into the warm air, silencing the crowd with beauty. And yet, culture is not only in grand buildings, but in walls and courtyards, in the details of daily life. Across Pompeii's villas, frescoes bloom with color, scenes of gardens, of landscapes, of mythological figures frozen mid-motion. Birds perch upon painted branches, flowers unfurl in vivid red and green, illusions so lifelike one might almost hear the rustle of leaves. In dining rooms, gods of wine and revelry smile down from plastered walls, reminding all who eat and drink of the joys of life. On the floors, mosaics spread like woven rugs, made not of thread but of stone. Tiny tesserae, no larger than a fingernail, are arranged in endless patterns. Dolphins leaping across waves, hunting dogs frozen mid-chase, mythic heroes locked in timeless struggle. To walk upon these mosaics is to tread upon art itself, a reminder that beauty need not be distant, but part of the very ground beneath one's feet. And there are the baths, perhaps the most beloved spaces of all. Public and private alike, they are sanctuaries of water and warmth. Within their walls, light streams through high windows, reflecting off polished marble. Pools of varying temperature invite the body to sink and rest. Hot waters loosening muscles, cool waters refreshing the spirit. Steam rises gently, curling in the air, mingling with the quiet conversations of bathers. These baths are not merely for cleansing, but for community, for connection. Here, people gather not as noble or commoner, but as equals, sharing space, sharing time. Pompeii's culture also reveals itself in its smaller shrines and household gods, the lares. In nearly every home, niches are set into walls where small figures watch over the family. Offerings of fruit, bread, or wine are placed before them, a daily ritual linking the household to divine protection. It is in these quiet practices, repeated morning after morning, that culture breathes its most intimate form, belief made personal, woven into the rhythms of home. Festivals, too, mark the calendar with joy. Streets are strung with garlands, altars adorned with fresh flowers, music and laughter filling the air. Processions move through the city, priests leading, citizens following, singing hymns and carrying offerings. On such days, Pompeii transforms into a place of celebration, where divisions blur and the community becomes one. Everywhere, art and belief intertwine, reflecting the Roman way of life. It is a culture that honors the gods, delights in beauty, and cherishes the shared gathering of voices. Yet, what is most striking is not the grandeur alone, but the way it blends with simplicity. The same hand that molds clay pots for the market may also carve small figures of Venus. The same family who tends vines may also attend a play in the amphitheater. Culture here is not distant, but lived, woven into the very texture of the day. As evening falls, the forum grows quiet, the last light softening upon its columns. The theater's empty, their stone steps cooling in the night air. Villas close their doors, frescoes glowing faintly in lamplight. And yet, though the city sleeps, its culture endures. Painted upon walls, carved into stone, whispered in prayers, echoed in music. Pompeii, in this way, is more than a city of stone and trade. It is a living canvas, where each person contributes a stroke of color, a note of sound, a thread of ritual. And though centuries may pass, these expressions remain, preserved in the ash that would one day cover them. But that too is still far away. For now, Pompeii rests in beauty and in meaning, its culture alive, its people fulfilled, its gods honored. Tomorrow, we shall step beyond its walls, into the natural world that nurtures it. The fields, the vineyards, the olive groves, and the quiet presence of Mount Vesuvius, majestic and silent. And so, as you close your eyes, let the temples, theaters, and frescoes linger in your imagination, symbols of a culture both vibrant and serene. Drift with them, gently into rest. The city of Pompeii did not stand alone. It was cradled by nature, embraced by land and sea, by fertile fields and gentle breezes. To understand the city, one must step beyond its stone streets and into the world that nourished it, the world that made its life not only possible but abundant. Beyond the gates, the countryside unfolds like a soft tapestry. The soil here is dark, rich, and generous, shaped by the mountain that looms in the distance. Mount Vesuvius rises vast and still, its slopes layered with vineyards and groves, its summit often softened by drifting clouds. To the people of Pompeii, the mountain is not a threat, but a blessing. Its ancient eruptions, long forgotten, left behind soil fertile beyond compare. Every harvest is a gift of its silent presence. The vineyards stretch far and wide, vines heavy with grapes that glow like jewels in the sunlight, deep purples, pale greens, golden hues kissed by warmth. Farmers walk the rows with measured steps, inspecting clusters, pruning gently, tying new shoots. In the quiet hours of dawn, mist lingers low among the vines, each droplet on each leaf catching the early light. By noon, the air is sweet, thick with the scent of ripening fruit. And in autumn, when baskets overflow, wine presses are filled, and the rich, red liquid flows, ready to be stored in amphorae and sent across the sea. Not far from the vineyards lie the olive groves, their trees old and gnarled, their silver-green leaves whispering in the breeze. Their roots clutch the earth firmly, their branches reaching outward as if in welcome. In season, the olives are gathered by hand, their skins glossy, their taste sharp and full. From them oil is pressed, a golden essence that lights lamps, flavors meals, and anoints altars. The olive tree, timeless and enduring, is as much a part of Pompeii as its temples or fountains. Between the groves and vines stretch fields of grain. Wheat sways in long rows, its stalks rustling softly as the wind moves through them. Barley grows alongside, feeding both man and beast. Farmers bend low, sides flashing in sunlight, harvesting in rhythm with the turning of seasons. Their labors are steady, but their rewards are great. The land gives abundantly, and Pompeii thrives because of it. Beyond the fields, orchards spread with figs, pomegranates, and apples. In summer, figs swell with sweetness, soft and fragrant. Pomegranates split open to reveal glistening seeds, ruby red and shining. Children climb low branches, hands sticky with juice, their laughter scattering birds into the air. The orchards, like the vineyards, are places not only of work, but of life's simple joys. And always, beyond the land, lies the sea. From Pompeii, one can walk to the Bay of Naples, its waters calm and shimmering beneath the sun. The sea brings fish, trade, and the sense of a wider world. Sailors set out in small boats, nets cast wide, returning with their catch, gleaming fish, octopus, and shellfish. Traders arrive from distant lands, their ships heavy with spices, fabrics, and treasures unseen before. The sea is both pathway and provider, binding Pompeii to lands far beyond the mountain's shadow. The natural world offers more than food and trade, it offers beauty. The air itself carries the fragrance of herbs growing wild, rosemary, thyme, basil. Bees drift from flower to flower, their hum blending with the calls of doves and the distant bark of dogs. In spring, the land bursts into bloom. Poppies, violets, daisies, and lilies paint fields in gentle color. In summer, cicadas sing, their voices rising with the heat of the day. In autumn, leaves crisp and fall, marking the passage of time. The mountain, Vesuvius, watches over all. Its slopes are not barren, but alive, planted with vines, dotted with groves, home to shepherds who graze their flocks. To climb its lower paths is to see the land spread wide beneath you, the sea glimmering at the edge of vision, the city nestled like a jewel among fields. To stand upon its heights is to feel the stillness of something ancient, older than memory. Yet, to the people of Pompeii, the mountain is no more threatening than the hills beyond. It is simply there, a presence eternal and unmoving. The natural world and the city are intertwined. The grain becomes bread in the baker's oven. The grapes become wine poured at taverns. The olives become oil, flickering in lamps that light the forum. The sea's bounty fills the market stalls, while flowers from the fields adorn shrines and temples. Life flows in a circle, from land to city, from city back to land. And so, Pompeii lives in harmony with its surroundings. Each season brings its rhythm, each harvest its joy. The people know the patterns well, the feel of soil in their hands, the turning of the stars above, the cycles of planting and reaping. Life is not hurried, but steady, rooted in the gifts of nature. As evening draws near, the fields grow quiet. Workers return along the roads, carts creaking softly, baskets filled with the day's labor. The vineyards rest in the fading light, the olives gleam in the last rays of sun, and the sea reflects the colors of dusk, gold fading into purple, into the deep calm of night. The mountain stands in silhouette, its shadow long across the land, majestic, serene. For now there is peace. The land, the mountain, the sea, all seem eternal, unchanged, unchanging. Pompeii, too, rests within this embrace, nourished, protected, unaware of what the mountain holds in silence. And so, as you close your eyes, imagine the vineyards heavy with grapes, the olive trees swaying gently, the fields golden in the sun. Imagine the sea stretching out, calm and endless, and the mountain rising above it all, quiet and still. Drift with these images, let them carry you into rest, just as the people of Pompeii drift into their own evening sleep, trusting in the constancy of nature. Tomorrow, we shall wake with them on a very particular morning, August 24th, 79 AD, an ordinary day that would begin in peace, but would carry subtle whispers of change. The sun rises slowly over the Bay of Naples, casting its golden light across rooftops, courtyards, and fields. It is the morning of August 24th, 79 AD, though to the people of Pompeii it is only another ordinary day. There is nothing remarkable about the dawn, No signs in the sky, no omens on the horizon. Only the gentle warmth of sunlight, the songs of birds, and the soft rustle of the breeze moving through vines and olive trees. The city awakens as it always does. From the bakeries comes the glow of early fires. Bakers stoke their ovens, coaxing the flames into life, the scent of wood smoke drifting into the streets. Dough is shaped into round loaves, scored with marks to guide the baking. Soon, the air fills with the aroma of bread rising, a fragrance that seeps through doorways and windows, calling the day into being. Merchants roll open the shutters of their shops. Stalls are arranged in the forum. Baskets of figs, piles of olives, amphorae of oil, and bolts of fabric dyed in vibrant colors. A jeweler polishes a bracelet of bronze and glass beads, setting it upon a wooden table where the morning sun can catch its shine. Fishmongers rinse their catch in cool fountain water, scales flashing silver in the light. The market hums with voices, not hurried but steady, neighbors greeting one another, bargains being made, laughter mingling with the splash of fountains. Children spill into the streets, their sandals clapping lightly against the stone. Some run to fountains, splashing each other with water. Others chase small dogs through alleyways, their laughter echoing between painted walls. A group gathers near the forum steps, tossing a ball fashioned from stitched leather, their shouts ringing bright in the morning air. Their games carry the simple joy of youth, unaware of the weight of time. Farmers arrive from the countryside, carts creaking as they enter through the city gates. Their baskets brim with grapes, figs, and grain, fresh from fields nurtured by the rich soil. Donkeys plod steadily along, their hooves clicking on the stones, their loads balanced carefully upon their backs. Farmers speak with merchants, exchanging produce for coin, greeting friends as they pass. Their faces are weathered, but their spirits calm, shaped by the rhythm of land and season. In the villas, nobles recline in shaded atriums, attended by servants who bring fruit, bread, and cups of watered wine. Courtyards shimmer with sunlight, playing upon mosaics and painted frescoes. The sounds of the city reach them faintly, softened by the splash of water in central pools and the coo of doves in rafters. They speak in measured tones, of trade, of politics, of family affairs, each conversation unhurried, framed by the comfort of home. At the bathhouses, doors open to welcome the morning's visitors. Some arrive early, seeking the refreshment of warm pools before the day grows hot. Steam curls upward, mingling with laughter and conversation. Attendants prepare oils and strigils, ready for those who come to cleanse both body and spirit. The baths are calm, places of gathering as much as rest, filled with the murmur of voices echoing against marble walls. And in the temples, priests begin their daily rituals. Incense is lit, its smoke rising in thin, curling streams toward painted ceilings. Offerings of bread, oil, and flowers are placed before the altars of Jupiter, Venus, and Apollo. Citizens step inside, bowing their heads, whispering prayers. Some ask for health, others for good harvests, others for safety at sea. The gods are present in every corner of Pompeii, woven into the rhythm of the day as naturally as the sun itself. The city is alive with sound, the ring of hammer on bronze in a craftsman's workshop, the scrape of pottery on stone as a potter arranges jars, the quiet notes of a flute drifting from an open window. Life moves at a gentle pace, not rushed, not frantic, each moment flowing into the next with ease. Above it all, the mountain stands, silent, its slopes bathed in morning light. Its presence is steady, its shadow long across the fields. To the people of Pompeii, it is no more remarkable today than it was yesterday or the day before. It watches over them as it always has, its silence mistaken for peace. By midday, the forum is bright with activity. Citizens gather in shaded colonnades, escaping the heat of the sun. Children chase one another between pillars, their laughter rising above the hum of conversation. Merchants call out to passers-by, their voices cheerful. The smell of fresh bread mingles with the sharper scent of fish, the sweetness of figs, and the salt of the sea breeze drifting inland. And yet, if one paused, perhaps they might notice a subtle difference in the air. Perhaps the sunlight seems sharper than usual, the warmth heavier. Perhaps the earth gives the faintest tremor, so small it might be mistaken for imagination. But such things are fleeting, brushed aside as ordinary. Life continues as it always has. As afternoon wanes, the streets remain full of life. Lovers walk together beneath colonnades, friends linger at taverns sharing cups of wine, children nap in shaded courtyards. Craftsmen continue their work, shaping metal and clay, painting walls with colors that glow in the sun. Farmers lead their donkeys homeward, baskets lighter than in the morning, yet hearts content. Pompeii breathes as it has always breathed, steady, calm, alive. Evening approaches, and lamps are lit along the streets. The golden glow of flame softens the edges of buildings, turning walls into gentle silhouettes against the fading sky. The voices of the city grow quieter, families gathering for meals, neighbors sitting together in courtyards, music floating into the dusk. For Pompeii, the day closes as peacefully as it began. The people drift into rest with no sense of what tomorrow will bring. For them, this day is like any other, full of bread, laughter, prayers, and conversation. A day lived beneath the shadow of a mountain they believe will never stir. And so the city sleeps, its people safe within their walls, the fountains still murmuring, the stars shining above. Yet beneath the ground, unseen, something shifts. Nature stirs faintly, patiently, silently. The first signs are too small to disturb the peace of Pompeii. Tomorrow, however, those whispers will grow louder. For tonight, all is calm. For tonight, the city rests in peace. Morning has passed, and the day stretches onward. To most of Pompeii's citizens, August 24th, 79 AD unfolds like any other summer's day. Sunlight warming the streets, voices filling the forum, carts rolling steadily along the stone roads. Yet here and there, in small ways, the world begins to whisper of change. The first signs are subtle. A faint tremor ripples beneath the ground, so slight that many do not notice it at all. A merchant setting his amphory of oil upon a wooden shelf feels the jars quiver for a heartbeat, then settle. He pauses, frowns, and then shrugs, thinking it nothing more than the passing of a heavy cart. A woman at her loom feels her shuttle shake for an instant in her hand, then continues smoothly. A child chasing a ball in the street stumbles, laughing without knowing why. The earth grows still again, leaving behind only a question that quickly fades from mind. Above the city, Mount Vesuvius rests in the afternoon sun. Its slopes glow green with vines, its summit veiled with the faintest thread of smoke. It is not unusual, for sometimes the mountain smokes gently, as though exhaling in the heat of the day. Most passers-by hardly lift their gaze to notice. A farmer, returning from the fields, glances upward, squints against the light, and then continues on. To him, the mountain has always stood this way, silent, eternal. But animals notice. Dogs whine in courtyards, pacing restlessly, ears pricked toward the unseen. Birds rise suddenly from the trees, wings scattering in bursts, as though startled by some sound unheard by human ears. Horses stamp their hooves, snorting, tugging against reins. Farmers mutter softly, soothing them, thinking only that the heat has made the animals uneasy. Yet still, a quiet tension lingers in their movements, a restlessness without clear cause. In the marketplace, life continues. Merchants call out their wares, bakers pull loaves from ovens, children laugh and run among the stalls. Yet between these ordinary sounds, a few moments stand out. An amphora tips, falling and breaking upon the stones, though no hand touched it. A fig tree shivers, though the air is still. In the baths, a ripple disturbs the water in the pool, though no one has moved. Each moment is brief, easily dismissed. And so the people dismiss them, folding the day back into its familiar rhythm. By mid-afternoon, the sky shifts subtly. A thin haze spreads high above, pale at first, then growing thicker. It dims the sunlight, softening the edges of shadows. Some look upward, shielding their eyes, and remark on the strange color of the heavens. Perhaps a storm, they say, nodding to one another. Perhaps the sea has sent its winds inland. The thought passes, easy to set aside. After all, the air is still warm, the fountains still murmur, the city still hums with life. Yet in courtyards and quiet rooms, small conversations begin. An old woman recalls the tremors of years past, faint earthquakes that once shook the city. The gods are stirring, she murmurs, lighting a lamp at her household shrine. A farmer, guiding his donkey through the gate, mutters that the mountain looks darker today, its peak shrouded more than usual. But such words are spoken softly, without urgency, quickly lost in the chatter of daily business. The baths grow more crowded as the afternoon deepens, citizens seeking cool water and the comfort of routine. Here, laughter rises easily, echoing against marble walls. Men speak of politics, of harvests, of plays soon to be performed. No one lingers long upon the oddness of the day. The tremors, the smoke, the restless animals, all seem small in the face of warm water, friendly voices, and the reassurance of custom. As the sun begins to lower, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, the city slows once more. Lamps are lit, children return home, farmers stable their animals. Yet still the air feels different, heavier perhaps, or touched by a faint dryness. Those who pause to notice find themselves unsettled, though they cannot say why. From the higher slopes of Vesuvius, a shepherd guides his flock downward. He glances back at the mountain, watching the plume of smoke curl slowly upward, darker now against the setting sun. His sheep bleat nervously, pressing close together, their hooves quick upon the path. The shepherd speaks gently to them, though his own heart stirs with unease. "It is nothing," he whispers, though the words are for himself as much as for the flock. In the villas, nobles recline in their tricliniums, servants bringing platters of bread, olives, and roasted meats. The evening meal unfolds in warmth and comfort. Music plays softly in courtyards, lyres strummed with practiced hands. Wine flows into cups, laughter rises, stories are told. And yet, once or twice, a guest glances toward the open roof above the atrium, noting the faint haze that veils the stars. "The night seems different," someone remarks. "Perhaps rain will come." Another nods, unconcerned. The conversation drifts on, turning to lighter things. Across the city, families settle into their homes. Children fall asleep upon couches, their hair damp from evening baths. Dogs curl at their feet, though some lift their heads now and then, ears twitching at sounds unheard. Lamps flicker in doorways, their flames swaying gently, though the air is still. The mountain, vast and dark in the distance, looms against the night sky, its plume faintly glowing in the starlight. The first signs have passed, noticed by some, forgotten by others, dismissed by nearly all. To the people of Pompeii, this day ends as peacefully as any other. They drift into dreams, hearts calmed by the familiarity of home, of family, of ritual. The earth is quiet again, the city safe once more. Yet beneath the stillness, something stirs. Deep within the mountain, hidden from sight, forces gather. For now, the signs are gentle, tremors, restless animals, a haze in the sky. Tomorrow, they will be less gentle. Tomorrow, the whispers of change will become a voice that cannot be ignored. And so the city sleeps, unaware. The fountains murmur softly. The lamps glow. The mountain waits. The morning of August 25th, 79 AD arrives much like any other. The streets stir, the fountains flow, the merchants prepare their stalls. Yet by mid-morning, a change begins, one so subtle at first that it feels almost dreamlike. The mountain, quiet through the night, exhales. From its summit rises a column of smoke, dark and vast, climbing steadily into the sky. At first, many watch in silence, uncertain. It is not the first time they have seen smoke upon the mountain, and yet this time it grows taller, broader, darker than before. The plume rises like a pine tree, its trunk straight, its top spreading wide in branches of ash and vapor. Against the blue sky, it is a shape both beautiful and strange. Children point upward, eyes wide, laughing as though at a curious spectacle. Farmers at the gates pause, their donkeys shifting uneasily, their baskets set down upon the stone. In the forum, merchants shade their eyes with their hands, gazing skyward with puzzled expressions. A murmur passes through the crowd, soft, questioning, yet not fearful. "What is it?" someone asks. "Perhaps the gods are speaking," another replies. Voices rise, but gently, not yet in alarm. Then slowly the ash begins to fall. It drifts first as a light dust, fine as flour, settling upon shoulders and hair, upon the stones of the street. A child lifts his hands, giggling, as the particles collect like pale snow. A baker, stepping from his shop, brushes at his tunic, leaving streaks of white across the cloth. The air grows hazy, but still the city does not panic. Many stand watching, marveling, as though the mountain has chosen to give them a spectacle, a performance in the sky. But the ash does not stop. It thickens, drifting downward in steady streams. Roofs whiten, fountains darken as powder collects upon the water's surface. Merchants cover their goods, pulling cloths over baskets of figs and amphorae of wine. In the baths, bathers pause mid-step, water dripping from their skin, as attendants peer into the light filtering through high windows. The brightness has dimmed. The sunlight is pale now, filtered through a veil of ash. The sound of the city shifts. The cheerful hum of market voices fades, replaced by a muffled stillness. Footsteps crunch softly on the powder gathering underfoot. Dogs whine, their fur dusted gray. Birds wheel overhead, their wings cutting arcs through the ash-laden sky, before fleeing toward the sea. Some retreat indoors, closing shutters, lighting lamps against the strange dimness. Others linger outside, gazing upward, still curious, still unalarmed. For though the sky has darkened, the air is calm. There is no fire, no roar, no rush of wind, only the steady fall of ash, soft as snow. As hours pass, the day takes on an otherworldly hue. The sun, once golden, is veiled in pale light. Shadows grow strange and diffuse. The air carries a faint, sharp scent, a dryness that clings to the throat. Families gather in courtyards, speaking quietly, wondering what the gods intend. Priests offer prayers at shrines, incense smoke mingling with the haze. Children grow restless, tugging at their mother's hands, asking questions that have no answers. Still, the tone remains one of confusion, not fear. Some even find wonder in it. The way the ash swirls gently in the air, the way rooftops gleam pale against the dim sky. A poet might call it beautiful. A painter might try to capture its strange light. But beneath the beauty lies a question none can yet voice. What does this mean? By late afternoon, the ash grows heavier. The streets are no longer stone gray, but white. Steps are muffled, the crunch of sandals sinking deeper into powder. Merchants close their stalls, carrying baskets indoors. Farmers urge their animals toward shelter, brushing at the ash that gathers in their hair and beards. Still, there is no panic, only unease, only the quiet realization that the day has become unlike any before it. In villas, nobles gather with their families, reclining no longer in comfort, but in concern. Servants bring lamps, lighting rooms though the sun has not yet set. Courtyards glow dimly in the haze filtering through open roofs. The frescoes upon walls seem to fade in the strange half-light, their colors muted by the dust that drifts even indoors. Conversations grow hushed, voices lowered, as though to speak too loudly might disturb the air. And yet, through all this, Pompeii still breathes with life. Children still laugh, though more softly now, their games slowed. Neighbors still call to one another, though their words are fewer. Dogs still bark, though their voices are thin beneath the falling ash. The city is not yet afraid. It is bewildered, subdued, watching. As evening approaches, the mountain's plume stretches high into the heavens, its branches spreading wide. Ash falls thicker now, coating rooftops, weighing upon awnings, gathering in gutters. Lanterns glow along the streets, their flames flickering, halos of light in the dim haze. The city seems caught between day and night, its rhythms disrupted, its heart slowed. And in this strange stillness, time feels suspended. The ordinary sounds of life are muted, softened, as though wrapped in layers of ash. Pompeii drifts in a dreamlike state, a city watching, waiting, listening to the mountain's slow exhale. The eruption has begun, but it is not yet fury. It is not yet fire. It is only the quiet rain of ash, the darkening of sky, the dimming of light. A surreal, almost gentle unfolding. Tomorrow, the mountain's voice will grow louder. Tomorrow, the city will learn the depth of its silence. For now, Pompeii rests beneath a sky of drifting gray, its people moving softly through streets that feel both familiar and strange. The ash continues to fall, steady and endless, like snow upon a world that has never known winter. The evening of August 25th, 79 AD drifts into night, but it is no ordinary night. The ash that began so lightly now falls in heavy showers, thickening upon rooftops and cloaking streets in pale layers. Pompeii, once bright with torches and voices, grows hushed, its lamps glowing faintly behind shutters as people seek shelter. The air itself feels altered. It is thicker, drier, carrying a sharpness that pricks the throat and clings to the tongue. Each breath draws in not only air, but dust, fine and unyielding. Citizens wrap cloths across their mouths, dampening them with water, murmuring to one another as they move cautiously through the dimness. Above, the mountain no longer sends a plume of smoke, it sends darkness. The sky, once amber with sunset, is now blotted out, replaced by a rolling canopy of ash that stretches far and wide. Even the stars are hidden. Only the faint glow of lanterns, the flicker of torches, and the pale, ghostly fall of pumice light the world. Pumice begins to rain down. Not large at first, but small, porous stones, soft in the hand yet startling in their abundance. They strike roofs, bouncing upon tiles, scattering in courtyards. Their sound is constant, like countless hands tapping upon the city, a rhythm unending. Children listen with wide eyes, clinging to their mothers, whispering questions. Is it the gods? They ask. Is it rain turned to stone? No answers come, only soft reassurances, words spoken more to soothe than to explain. Neighbors gather together. Some crowd into villas, their courtyards filled with families seeking protection. Others gather in the forum, uncertain whether to remain indoors or flee into open space. Lamps are lit at midday, their glow muffled by haze, as though swallowed by the air. The city feels adrift, suspended in a twilight that has no hour. Within homes, families huddle close. Fathers fetch extra cloths to cover mouths, mothers dampen them with water, children rest their heads upon laps. The frescoes on the walls, bright with myth and color, seem muted in the lamplight, their gods and heroes watching silently as the ash creeps inward, settling on mosaics, collecting in corners. The sound of roofs groaning begins. Light pumice gathers quickly, its weight deceptively heavy in such quantity. Wooden beams creak, tiles shift, dust drifts downward. Neighbors call to one another, helping brush rooftops clear, climbing ladders with baskets, emptying them into the streets below. Their movements are slow, deliberate, not frantic, each effort a quiet attempt to preserve what can still be preserved. And yet, amidst this strangeness, kindness persists. A merchant opens his storeroom, sharing bread with those who have none. A farmer leads his donkey into a neighbor's courtyard, offering baskets of figs in return for shelter. Families make space for strangers, spreading mats across floors, offering water, comfort, presence. Even as the city darkens, its humanity glows, steady and warm. The sound of the pumice falling grows louder as night deepens. It is not a roar, but a constant, endless patter, like rain that never ceases. Streets are carpeted in pale stones. Footsteps sink into them with crunches muffled by layers upon layers. The fountains continue to flow, but their waters are buried beneath gray, the streams trickling silently into basins now heavy with ash. Some attempt to flee. A small group gathers at the gate, carrying bundles, leading children by the hand. They step carefully through the falling stones, their torches raised, the flames flickering weakly in the heavy air. Yet many turn back, unsure whether safety lies beyond the city or within its walls. The countryside, too, lies beneath the mountain's shadow, and so most remain waiting, hoping, praying. Dogs bark in the streets, pacing restlessly, their fur turned gray with dust. Horses stamp their hooves, uneasy, neighing into the dim air. Birds are gone, vanished into the distance. Only the steady fall of pumice and the murmur of human voices remain, filling the city with a strange music of stone and whispers. In the temples, priests light lamps before the gods. Altars glow with offerings of bread, fruit, and oil, set upon them with trembling hands. Incense burns, its smoke mixing with the haze, curling upward into the unseen sky. Jupiter, protect us, they whisper. Venus, shield your city. Their prayers are quiet, heartfelt, rising like fragile threads into the darkness. The hours pass slowly, each one heavy, each one marked not by the sun or stars, but by the steady growth of ash. By midnight, roofs sag beneath its weight, beams groaning louder, tiles slipping into courtyards. Families press closer together, their lamps sputtering in the thick air. Some speak in hushed voices of leaving at dawn, of waiting until the mountain's anger subsides. Others hold fast to their homes, unwilling to abandon the walls that have always protected them. And yet, through all of this, a kind of surreal calm lingers. The world outside is strange, but within, there is still laughter in quiet corners, still stories whispered to children to ease their fears, still cups of wine passed between friends. Humanity endures, even as the sky falls. The city does not yet know the fullness of what is to come. It knows only this, that the night is darker than any before, that the air is heavy with stone and ash, that the mountain speaks not in thunder, but in silence broken only by the steady fall of pumice. Pompeii drifts deeper into the night, its streets muffled, its roofs sagging, its lamps glowing faintly in the haze. The people rest uneasily, though many still sleep, cradled by exhaustion and the hope that morning will bring calm once more. But the mountain has only begun. The night deepens, and with it, the weight of ash grows heavier, the silence more profound. Soon, the fury beneath the earth will no longer whisper. It will roar. For now, though, the city remains suspended in its strange twilight, caught between ordinary life and the extraordinary. A place of stone and light, of people and prayers, wrapped in falling ash, waiting for dawn that may never come. The night deepens, and the city of Pompeii rests uneasily beneath its blanket of ash. The pumice continues to fall, hour after hour, layering rooftops, burying streets, softening the outlines of villas, temples, and fountains. By now, what once was a bustling city glows only faintly with scattered lamps, their light dimmed by the haze. Inside the homes, families huddle close together. Some gather in atriums, others in cellars, some in courtyards open to the sky. Mothers soothe their children with whispered songs. Fathers tend to lamps, pouring precious oil to keep the light alive. Neighbors press together, offering words of comfort, sharing bread, sharing water. Even in uncertainty, humanity persists, a steady thread of connection in a world turned unfamiliar. The air grows heavier. With each breath, the lungs fill not only with air but with fine grains of ash, dry and sharp. Cloths dampened with water are pressed to mouths, passed from hand to hand. Yet still, voices are gentle, spoken softly, as though the city itself has hushed and the people answer in kind. Above, the mountain changes again. What began as a plume of smoke has become a vast, towering column that stretches into the heavens. Lightning flickers faintly within it, threads of light weaving through the ash. The sound grows deeper now, a distant rumble, as though the earth itself breathes in great, slow waves. But within the city, the noise is muffled, absorbed by the constant fall of pumice. The world feels both alive and eerily still. Then at last the column breaks. The mountain exhales not gently now, but with force. A surge of heat and ash, dense and swift, races down its slopes. It does not roar like fire. It moves like a wave of silence, smothering as it comes. The first surge sweeps into the countryside, covering vineyards, fields, and villas. Trees bow, then vanish beneath its weight. The land falls still, hidden beneath a gray sea. In Pompeii, the people feel the change before they see it. A stillness deeper than before settles upon the air. The ground shivers. Lamps flicker, flames bending in sudden gusts. And then the darkness deepens, thicker, heavier, pressing upon roofs, upon walls, upon breath itself. Some cry out softly, prayers whispered into the air. Jupiter, guard us. Venus, protect us. Mercury, guide us. Others hold their children closer, or clasp the hands of loved ones, or kneel before household shrines. The Laras, the small household gods, stand quietly in their niches, their painted faces lit faintly by flickering lamps. Offerings of fruit and bread sit untouched, coated in falling dust. Time slows. The hours are no longer measured by sun or star, but by the deepening silence, by the weight of ash. Families sit together, speaking little. Some share memories, recounting festivals of summers past, harvests gathered, children born. Others sit in silence, heads bowed, the comfort of presence greater than the comfort of words. The surges come again. Waves of ash, heat, and stillness sweep across the land, enveloping fields, groves, and villages. Pompeii receives them not in fire, but in silence. Roofs collapse under the weight of stone. Walls give way, their frescoes falling into gray stillness. Mosaics, once walked upon by countless feet, vanish beneath the layers. The amphitheater, the baths, the forum, all are slowly wrapped in silence. And yet, within the homes, there remains a strange peace. Families sit close, hands clasped, breaths slow. Children rest their heads upon their mothers' laps, eyes closed, drifting into dreams even as the air grows heavy. Fathers hold sons upon their shoulders, whispering stories of gods and heroes to soothe them. Lovers lean against one another, hearts steady, their final moments shared. The mountain's breath grows hotter, heavier, denser. One by one, lamps sputter out, their flames starved of air. Darkness folds upon the city, complete and final. But in this darkness there is no scream, no chaos, no terror, only quiet. The people of Pompeii do not rage against their fate, they rest within it. Their final hours are not of panic, but of stillness, of families together, of humanity preserved in the soft embrace of ash. The surges move once more, sweeping through the city, filling every courtyard, every room, every street. In their passage, life pauses. A baker rests beside his oven, his loaves untouched. A child curls against her mother's side, her small hand clasped gently in her mother's. A merchant lies with the keys to his stall still at his waist. Their bodies, their postures, their very gestures remain, preserved not in stone, but in the silence of the moment. And so Pompeii falls into eternity. The voices fade. The fountains, once murmuring, are hushed. The markets, once alive, are silent. The mountain has spoken, and the city has listened. Beneath the ash, Pompeii sleeps, its final hours captured not in chaos, but in a strange and timeless peace. Above the silent city, the plume of Vesuvius still rises, spreading wide into the sky. The land beyond is dark, the sea shadowed, the air filled with drifting dust. But within Pompeii, all is quiet now. Families together, homes stilled, lives preserved in the stillness of their last embrace. The city's final hours are over. Its eternity has begun. The mountain is quiet now. Its vast plume drifts slowly into the sky, spreading across the horizon like a veil. The surges have passed. The pumice no longer falls. The earth, once trembling, rests again, and beneath the silence lies a city. Pompeii, which only yesterday rang with voices, laughter, footsteps, and song, now rests beneath a blanket of ash and stone. Its streets are hidden, its fountains stilled. Villas, temples, shops, and taverns lie buried, sealed away in gray stillness. Yet nothing is gone. Everything remains, preserved in the embrace of the mountain's silence. The city sleeps. The baker rests beside his oven, loaves still waiting upon their trays. The merchant's keys are at his belt, his hands folded gently at his side. Children lie close to their mothers, their small forms cradled in protective arms. Lovers lean against one another, heads touching, a final moment shared. Families remain gathered, exactly as they were, their final breaths transformed into eternal stillness. The frescoes upon the villa walls, once bright with color, now wait in darkness. Mosaics, their tesserae glimmering beneath layers of ash, rest untouched. Amphorae of wine, bowls of fruit, lamps of bronze, all remain as they were, only hidden, wrapped in silence. The life of Pompeii is not lost, but paused, as though the city itself has fallen into slumber. Outside, the land too lies quiet. Vineyards are gone, their vines buried. Olive groves bow beneath the weight of ash. Fields of grain are covered, orchards silenced. The sea still breathes its tide, but its shores are muted, its harbors stilled. The countryside rests beneath the same gray blanket, the same silence. Days pass. The mountain cools. The sky clears, and the sun returns, shining upon a land forever changed. Grass begins to grow again upon slopes of ash. Birds return, their calls tentative, their wings sweeping low across the silent city. Animals roam the countryside, their hooves pressing upon soft layers of pumice. Life resumes in the world around, yet Pompeii remains hidden, preserved, untouched by time. Seasons pass. Years turn. Generations are born and gone. Rome itself rises and shifts, empires changing, centuries unfolding. Yet beneath the earth, Pompeii sleeps, undisturbed. Its streets remain intact, its homes unchanged, its people held in the moment of their final embrace. For nearly 17 centuries, the city waits. Hidden, silent, forgotten beneath the soil, it rests while the world beyond continues its ceaseless motion. And then one day shovels dig. Hands uncover walls. Colors return to the light of the sun. Frescoes see daylight once more, mosaics sparkle in open air. The city breathes again, not in life, but in memory. Archaeologists walk its streets, tracing the steps of those who lived before. They enter the bakeries, finding loaves still in their ovens. They uncover the amphitheater, its stone seats waiting for voices that will never return. They uncover plaster forms of bodies, preserved in their final moments, hands clasped, arms outstretched, children resting in mother's embrace. Humanity, frozen in time, revealed once more. And so Pompeii speaks again, not through voices, but through stillness. Through walls painted with gardens and gods. Through streets marked with the grooves of carts. Through plaster figures whose shapes tell stories of love, of family, of life lived in ordinary days. It is no longer a city of trade, of laughter, of festivals. It is something else now. It is memory itself. The silence of Pompeii is not empty. It is full of moments, of lives, of the quiet beauty of an ordinary world preserved forever. Each fresco whispers of art and joy. Each mosaic tells of beauty underfoot. Each amphora, each tool, each lamp speaks of hands that shaped them, of lives that used them, of days once filled with light. The people of Pompeii did not know their lives would be remembered. They lived as we live, waking to bread and laughter, gathering at markets, bathing in warm pools, offering prayers at shrines. And yet, through the mountain's silence, their lives remain, carried across centuries to us. In this way, Pompeii is not a story of loss, but of continuity. Though the city fell silent, its memory endures. Though its people drifted into eternity, their presence remains, reminding us that life is always both fragile and eternal, fleeting yet preserved in the echoes of time. Tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine walking once more along its streets. The stones are warm beneath your feet, the fountains murmur, the lamps glow in doorways. The mountain rests in the distance, silent and still. You pass the marketplace, the temples, the villas. Children laugh, merchants call out, bakers lift loaves from their ovens. The city is alive again, in your mind, in your dreams. And as you drift toward sleep, remember that Pompeii, though gone, is not lost. It remains preserved in memory, in silence, in story. Its people live on, not in fear, but in the beauty of their ordinary days. The city rests. You too may rest. Beneath the shadow of the mountain, Pompeii sleeps forever. And now, so may you. Though Pompeii now rests in silence, preserved beneath the ash of the mountain, it was once a living thread woven into the vast tapestry of the Roman Empire. To understand the city fully, let us step back and see it not only as a town of villas and markets, but as part of something greater, A world that stretched from the deserts of Africa to the misty forests of northern Europe, from the shores of Britain to the islands of the eastern seas. Pompeii was not isolated. Its streets were filled with the accents of traders, sailors, and travelers. Goods arrived not only from its surrounding countryside, but from across the empire itself. The Bay of Naples, just a short walk from the city's walls, was a harbor of life. Ships came and went with sails bright against the blue sea, carrying amphorae of wine, jars of olives, baskets of grain, and spices with scents unknown to the hills of Campania. From Egypt, cargo ships brought linen and papyrus. From Greece came fine pottery and statues of marble. From Spain arrived salted fish and amphorae of oil. From the east traveled silk, glassware, and perfumes, their fragrances drifting softly from market stalls. Pompeii was not only a city of farmers and craftsmen. It was a city that touched the world and was touched in return. The people knew of Rome itself, though many never traveled there. They heard of the bustling capital, its senators in togas, its forums vast beyond imagination, its aqueducts that stretched for miles. And though Pompeii was smaller, humbler, its people lived with the same customs, the same laws, the same rhythms of Roman life. The empire connected them, bound them in ways both visible and invisible. In the forum, traders spoke not only of local harvests, but of events in distant lands. News traveled along the roads and across the seas, of emperors, of battles, of festivals celebrated far away. The city was not alone. It was a single note in the music of a vast civilization. Roman roads stretched outward from Pompeii like threads in a great web. Along them traveled merchants with carts, soldiers with armor gleaming in the sun, and messengers carrying tablets sealed with wax. These roads linked the city to Naples, to Herculaneum, to Rome itself. To walk them was to be reminded that Pompeii, though small, was part of an empire that spanned the known world. And yet, for all the grandeur of Rome, Pompeii remained rooted in its own character. It had its own amphitheater, its own temples, its own people. It was neither grand nor poor. It was simply itself, a city both ordinary and unique. But the empire gave it stability, prosperity, and a sense of belonging to something greater. The coin in a farmer's hand bore the image of an emperor he would never meet, yet the coin bound him to Rome. The laws spoken in the forum echoed those of the Senate far away, yet they guided Pompeii's daily life. The festivals celebrated in the city mirrored those in the capital, with prayers, offerings, and games uniting people across distances vast and small. And so Pompeii's life was both local and universal. The baker rising before dawn did not think of Rome, and yet his bread was baked in Roman ovens, sold with Roman coin, eaten by those who lived under Roman law. The fisherman casting his nets into the Bay of Naples did not think of distant provinces, and yet his catch was salted, stored, and sometimes sent across seas to feed those in far-off lands. The empire lived in the background of Pompeii's days, steady and constant. It was a net that held the city, a tide that carried it forward. Now, as we reflect upon Pompeii beneath its veil of ash, we see it not as a single city lost, but as a piece of a larger whole. Its silence carries with it the silence of countless other towns, countless other voices once alive and now gone. The empire that once seemed eternal has itself faded into memory, its marble and stone weathered by centuries. Yet Pompeii remains, its memory sharper than most, preserved not in fragments but in entirety. In this way, Pompeii tells us not only of itself, but of Rome, of its reach, its culture, its life. When we walk Pompeii's streets in our minds, we walk the roads of an empire. When we hear the laughter of its children, we hear the laughter of countless children across the Mediterranean world. Pompeii's story is not separate. It is a reflection of Rome itself, a mirror of a civilization that once stretched wide and deep. And so let us linger here a moment, imagining the city as it was, alive not only with its own breath, but with the breath of an empire. The amphorae in its shops came from across seas. The gods in its temples were honored across nations. The laws spoken in its forum echoed across provinces. Pompeii was Rome, and Rome was Pompeii. Now both are silent, yet in memory both endure. The empire may be gone, but its echoes remain, in stones, in roads, in the very language we speak. And Pompeii, preserved in its final moment, remains the clearest echo of all. As you close your eyes, imagine not only the city, but the world around it. Imagine ships upon the sea, sails full of wind. Imagine roads stretching across valleys, soldiers marching, merchants calling out their wares. Imagine Rome itself, vast and bustling, connected by invisible threads to the small, beautiful city of Pompeii. In that connection lies the beauty of memory, that no life is lived alone, that no city stands apart, that each is part of something greater, whether empire, family, or time itself. And so, Pompeii rests, part of the Roman world, part of history, part of us. To imagine Pompeii fully, we must also imagine the sea that lay just beyond its walls. For though the city thrived upon its fertile land and the watchful mountain, it was also shaped by the waters of the Bay of Naples, a bay wide and calm, curving like an embrace, its shores lined with towns, harbors, and villas. At dawn, the sea glowed soft and silver, the light of the rising sun shimmering upon its surface. Fishermen pushed their small boats from shore, their nets coiled neatly at their feet, their hands sure upon the oars. The rhythm of rowing was steady, the sound of water lapping against wood gentle and familiar. Out upon the bay, they cast their nets, spreading wide upon the water, glinting in the sunlight like threads of silver. The sea gave generously. Fish darted into nets, mullet, anchovy, and mackerel. Octopus and shellfish were gathered from rocky shallows. The catch was hauled back to shore, carried to market in Pompeii and beyond. To walk through the forum on any given morning was to smell the salt of the sea mingling with the scent of bread and olives. But the bay offered more than food. It was a highway of trade, connecting Pompeii to the wider world. From its harbors, ships departed laden with amphorae of wine pressed from Campania's grapes, with jars of olive oil, with baskets of figs. In return, other ships arrived, sails bright against the blue horizon, bringing goods from across the Mediterranean. The bay was alive with motion, boats large and small, their sails swelling in the breeze, their wooden hulls creaking gently. Along its shores stood other towns, each with its own life, its own rhythm. To the north was Herculaneum, smaller than Pompeii, nestled close to the mountain, its villas looking out across the sea. To the south stretched Stabii, where wealthy Romans built seaside retreats, their porticos open to breezes, their floors cooled by the salt air. Beyond lay Naples itself, vibrant and grand, a city of theaters, markets, and bustling harbors. From any of these towns, the sea was never far. Its scent was carried inland on breezes, its sound a constant murmur at the edges of life. Children played along its shores, skipping stones and chasing waves. Lovers walked upon its beaches, hand in hand, watching the sun sink beneath the horizon. Sailors told stories of storms and distant lands, their voices carrying into taverns lit by lamps. The bay was not only water, it was memory, connection, and life itself. When the mountain erupted, the sea too changed. Ash fell upon its surface, dimming its blue, turning it to gray. Pumice floated upon the waves, drifting like islands, carried outward by the tide. Ships struggled upon its waters, their sails heavy with falling ash, their oarsmen coughing in the dark air. Some sought escape upon the bay, turning their bows towards safety. Others found themselves surrounded by floating stone, their paths blocked, the sea itself altered by the mountain's breath. And yet, when the eruption passed, the sea endured. Its waves still touched the shore, its tide still rose and fell. In time, the ash settled, the pumice drifted away, the waters cleared. The sea carried on, as seas always do, endless, eternal, unbound by the moments of human life. Centuries later, when Pompeii was uncovered, the bay still stretched in its wide embrace, calm as ever. Tourists and scholars who walked the silent streets could lift their eyes and see the same waters the people of Pompeii once saw. They could imagine ships upon its surface, sails billowing, nets cast wide. They could hear in their minds the laughter of children on its shore, the calls of fishermen, the creak of oars. The bay connects us across time to Pompeii. It is the same water, the same rhythm, the same tide that has flowed for thousands of years. The people are gone, their voices hushed, but the sea remains, whispering softly as it always has. Close your eyes and picture yourself upon its shore. The sand is warm beneath your feet. The horizon glows with the last light of day. Small boats drift in the shallows, their sails lowered, their nets drying in the breeze. The air is filled with salt and the faint call of gulls. The waves rise and fall, unhurried, their rhythm steady and sure. This is the sea that fed Pompeii, that carried its goods, that linked it to the world. This is the sea that watched silently as the mountain changed everything. And this is the sea that endures, reminding us that life, though fragile, is also everlasting, flowing onward like water, always returning, always renewing. As you rest now, imagine the tide upon the shore, slow and steady, carrying you gently towards sleep. Just as Pompeii rests beneath its blanket of ash, you too may rest, held by the calm embrace of the sea. Life in Pompeii was not only about bread, markets, and the sea. At its heart, the city lived by ritual, by rhythms of prayer, by the gentle presence of gods in both public temples and private homes. Faith was not something distant. It was woven into each day, as natural as water flowing from fountains or bread rising in ovens. In nearly every house, no matter how grand or modest, one would find the lares, the household gods. They were small figures, often painted or carved, set within a niche in the wall. Some showed youthful figures raising their arms in blessing. Others were painted with bright colors, accompanied by images of serpents or fruit. Each morning, families placed offerings before them: a cup of wine, a piece of bread, a small portion of meat or fruit. These simple gestures tied the family to the divine, asking for protection, health, and prosperity. Children grew up knowing these rituals well. They watched their parents pour oil into small lamps, watched incense smoke curl into the air, watched fruit and flowers laid gently at the household shrine. For them, the gods were not distant figures on high thrones, but daily companions, present in the quiet corners of their homes. Beyond the walls of each house stood the great temples, each dedicated to a god or goddess who watched over the city. The temple of Jupiter towered above the forum, its steps broad, its columns grand, its altar forever bearing offerings. The temple of Apollo, older still, held a quiet dignity, its courtyard filled with statues of gods and muses. The temple of Venus, patroness of Pompeii, glowed with love and beauty, her presence seen in the frescoes, the gardens, the art of the city. On festival days, these temples came alive. The streets filled with garlands of flowers, music echoed from pipes and drums, and processions moved slowly through the forum. Priests carried sacred objects, citizens followed with offerings, and children skipped alongside, eyes wide with delight. Incense rose thick into the air, mingling with the sound of prayers spoken aloud, a chorus of voices lifting together. The gods were honored, thanked, and celebrated, their presence woven into the life of the city. But not all rituals were grand. Many were quiet, small, and deeply human. A sailor departing the bay might whisper a prayer to Mercury for safe passage. A mother might place a sprig of rosemary at the shrine for her child's health. A farmer might pour a little wine upon the earth in thanks for his harvest. These gestures were humble, but they were constant, each a thread that bound the people of Pompeii to the divine. The city's theaters, too, held echoes of ritual. Plays often began with invocations to the gods, their stories telling of Jupiter's thunder, Venus's love, Bacchus's revelry. To watch a performance was not only to be entertained, but to participate in the sacred stories of the gods, told again and again, passed from one generation to the next. The baths carried a similar sense of connection. Though places of cleansing and community, they were also places where offerings were sometimes made. Small shrines stood within, tended by bathers who left flowers or coins in thanks for health, for healing, for rest. The very act of bathing, of caring for one's body, was itself a kind of ritual, a devotion to the harmony of life. When the mountain erupted, these rituals froze in time. In some homes, archaeologists later uncovered offerings still upon the household shrines. Fruit blackened by ash, cups of wine overturned but preserved, lamps still resting where they had been lit. In the temples, altars remained, their surfaces coated in gray, offerings buried but intact. In the silence, the gods still watched, their statues gazing outward, their presence unchanged though their worshippers were gone. The festivals, too, are remembered in their absence. Streets that once filled with music are quiet now. Columns that once bore garlands stand bare. Yet in the imagination, the voices remain, the laughter of children, the songs of priests, the murmur of prayers. In the stillness of the ruins, one can almost hear the echo of those rituals lingering across time. To reflect upon Pompeii's faith is to reflect upon our own. Their rituals, though shaped by different gods and customs, were not so different from the gestures we make today. Lighting a candle, saying a prayer, holding a loved one close. The people of Pompeii sought comfort, protection, and meaning in their daily lives, just as we do. Their faith was both ordinary and extraordinary, woven into meals, into work, into celebrations, into sorrow. Even in their final hours, when ash darkened the sky, many turned to ritual. Some clasped household gods in their arms, carrying them into courtyards. Others knelt before shrines, whispering prayers as lamps flickered in the heavy air. The gods were with them until the end, not distant, but close, as familiar as the walls of their homes. And now, centuries later, when we walk through the silent ruins, we see these shrines, these temples, these altars. We see the traces of offerings, the faded paintings of Laura's, the columns that once framed festivals. And though the voices are gone, the presence remains. The gods of Pompeii, like the people, are preserved in time, silent, yet still present, waiting for us to remember. As you drift into rest, imagine the soft light of a lamp flickering before a shrine. The air carries the scent of incense, curling upward in gentle smoke. A child places a fig before the Lauras, smiling shyly. A mother whispers a prayer, her hand resting on her child's shoulder. The gods watch quietly, their painted faces serene. This was Pompeii, ordinary people, extraordinary rituals, lives lived with reverence woven into each day. Their faith rests now in silence, but in memory, it glows as warmly as any lamp, guiding us into the stillness of sleep. For nearly 17 centuries after the mountain's eruption, Pompeii lay hidden. Beneath layers of ash and stone, it rested in silence, untouched, unseen, preserved as if time itself had paused. Generations were born and gone, kingdoms rose and fell, empires changed, yet the city slept, waiting. People lived upon the land without knowing what lay beneath. Farmers tilled the soil, planting vineyards and orchards in the fertile earth. Shepherds led their flocks across the slopes of Vesuvius. Towns grew nearby, their people unaware that beneath their feet lay an entire world, sealed in its final moment. Pompeii's name faded into legend, its memory softened, until it was little more than a whisper in old texts, a place forgotten by time. Then slowly the city awoke. In the early 18th century, workers digging near the town of Resina uncovered walls, painted with colors that had not faded. They found mosaics still bright and marble still smooth. At first, they did not understand what they had touched, but word spread. Soon excavations began, and beneath the earth, Pompeii was revealed again. The first discoveries were cautious, slow. Tools brushed away ash, hands lifted stone, and one by one, rooms came to light. Frescoes glowed with gardens, gods, and mythological scenes, their pigments as vivid as if painted only yesterday. Floors of mosaic shimmered with dolphins and vines. Courtyards opened, their pools still waiting for water, their columns standing tall. Archaeologists walked the streets, tracing the ruts of cartwheels worn into stone. They entered bakeries and found ovens still filled with loaves, blackened but preserved. They stepped into villas and saw walls covered in art, ceilings intact, furniture still in place. It was as though the people had only just stepped out, leaving behind their homes for a moment that stretched into eternity. And then came the most haunting discoveries. Within the layers of ash, voids were found, spaces where human bodies had once been. Archaeologists poured plaster into these voids, and when the casts hardened, they revealed the forms of Pompeii's people in their final moments. Here was a man lying upon his side, his hand at his chest. Here was a woman curled protectively around a child. Here was a dog chained and straining upward, frozen in struggle. Their faces, their gestures, their very postures were preserved. They were not statues, they were people, ordinary and real, held forever in time. Those who saw them for the first time felt awe, sorrow, and reverence. Pompeii was no longer just ruins, it was life itself, caught at its last breath. It was not only walls and streets, but humanity, remembered across centuries. As more of the city was uncovered, entire neighborhoods emerged. The forum, the amphitheater, the baths, all stood as they had been. Graffiti appeared on walls, words scratched by ordinary hands, jokes and greetings preserved in ash. In taverns, counters still held amphorae, ready for wine. In shops, scales and weights lay upon benches. In homes, bronze lamps sat upon tables, beds rested in corners, jewelry waited in boxes. Everywhere, Pompeii spoke, not with voices but with presence. It told of its people not in legend, but in detail. Their meals, their prayers, their laughter, their grief. No other city had ever been so perfectly preserved, so completely revealed. It was as though the mountain, in its fury, had also chosen to protect, to hold Pompeii safe until the world was ready to remember. Visitors came from across Europe, artists, scholars, poets. They walked its streets in silence, imagining the voices that once filled them. They sketched its walls, wrote of its beauty, carried its memory outward. Pompeii inspired art, literature, and reflection. It became a mirror held to the fragility of human life and the endurance of human memory. Today, Pompeii stands open beneath the sky once more. Tourists walk its streets, tracing the same stones worn by sandals nearly 2,000 years ago. They step into the villas, marvel at frescoes still bright, pause before mosaics that glimmer in the light. They gaze upon the plaster casts of its people, their hearts touched by the closeness of lives so distant in time. And yet, even with the footsteps of many, the city holds a silence. Its fountains do not flow, its ovens no longer bake, its voices do not return. But in that silence lies its power, the power of memory, of connection, of humanity preserved. Pompeii was lost, and then it was found. It was buried, and then revealed. It was silenced, and then spoke again. In its rediscovery, we are reminded that nothing is ever truly gone. Beneath the layers of time, memory waits, ready to return. As you drift now towards sleep, imagine yourself as one of those early archaeologists. You brush aside the ash, and slowly, a painted wall emerges. Bright flowers, green leaves, mythic figures in vivid color. You step carefully into a villa, your lamp flickering, and before you stretches a mosaic floor, dolphins leaping in frozen waves. Each discovery fills you with wonder, each step drawing you deeper into the life of a city preserved. Pompeii rests, uncovered yet eternal, a bridge between past and present, between lives once lived and lives still unfolding. Its rediscovery was not only of a city, but of humanity itself, ordinary, fragile, enduring. When we think of Pompeii, it is easy to imagine only its final day, the ash falling, the mountains stirring, the silence that followed. But Pompeii is more than its end. It is also its beginning, its life, and the lessons it whispers to us across the centuries. What does Pompeii teach us? Perhaps most of all, it teaches us about the beauty of the ordinary. For though its frescoes dazzle us, and its temples inspire awe, the heart of Pompeii lies in its simplest moments. The loaf of bread left in an oven, the graffiti of a friendly greeting scratched on a wall, the footprints of a dog pressed into wet floor tiles, preserved forever. These are not grand monuments. They are fragments of daily life. And yet, in their ordinariness, they are extraordinary. They remind us that history is not only emperors and battles, but also bakers, children, farmers, and lovers. Pompeii also teaches us about the closeness of time. Though 2,000 years have passed, its streets still feel familiar. When we look upon the plaster casts of its people, we do not see strangers, we see ourselves. Parents cradling children, friends holding hands, a dog straining at its chain. These gestures are timeless, unchanged across centuries. They remind us that human life, in all its fragility, is also universal. There is a lesson, too, in the silence of Pompeii. The city shows us that all things pass, empires, towns, even lives. The streets that once rang with voices now rest in stillness. The markets that once bustled with trade are quiet. And yet, this is not a sorrowful truth. It is a reminder that life is precious, that each day, however ordinary, carries meaning. Pompeii's story also reflects resilience, not of the city itself, which fell into silence, but of memory. Though its people did not survive, their lives endured in preservation. Though their voices are gone, their presence remains. Time covered them, but time also revealed them. In remembering Pompeii, we honor not only their loss, but their life. There is humility in Pompeii's lesson. It shows us that nature is vast, powerful, beyond our control. The mountain, silent for centuries, changed the course of thousands of lives in a single day. And yet, even in this truth, there is peace, for nature also gives. Fertile soil, vines heavy with grapes, olives silver in the sun, seas filled with fish. The same mountain that brought silence also gave life. The same earth that buried the city also preserved it. Perhaps, too, Pompeii teaches us about continuity. When archaeologists uncovered its streets, they found not only ruins, but reminders of how similar we remain. We still gather around tables to share meals. We still paint our walls, decorate our homes, honor our beliefs, and tell stories of gods or heroes. We still work, laugh, love, and rest. The faces of Pompeii, though frozen in time, are not so different from our own. For listeners, Pompeii can also be a kind of mirror. It asks us to reflect. What are the small rituals of our lives? What are the moments we might take for granted? Meals shared, conversations whispered, laughter at dusk. These are the treasures Pompeii leaves behind, the reminders to live not only for great achievements, but for the quiet beauty of daily life. When we walk through Pompeii in our imagination, we are not only visiting a city of the past, we are visiting ourselves. We see in its frescoes our love of beauty. We see in its amphitheater our joy in gathering. We see in its temples our search for meaning. We see in its bakeries our hunger for sustenance and warmth. The city, though ancient, feels immediate. It tells us that while time changes much, it does not change everything. And so, Pompeii speaks gently across the ages. It does not shout. It whispers. It whispers of bread baking, of children playing, of prayers offered, of love shared. It whispers of how fragile life is, and yet how enduring. It whispers of how even in silence, memory continues unbroken. As you rest now, think of these lessons not as heavy truths, but as soft reminders, reminders to cherish ordinary days, to find wonder in small rituals, to remember that our lives, too, are threads in a greater tapestry. Pompeii's silence is not only an ending, it is also a gift. It gives us the chance to see clearly, to remember deeply, to live more gently. It connects us to those who came before, and to those who will come after. The city has no more voices, no more music, no more fountains flowing. And yet it continues to speak, not in sound, but in presence, in memory, in reflection. Close your eyes now, and imagine walking once more along its streets. The stones are warm beneath your feet, the frescoes bright upon the walls. You hear laughter, footsteps, and music. You feel the sun on your face, the breeze from the bay, the presence of people all around you. This is Pompeii, not lost, but remembered, alive in memory, alive in you. And so, the city teaches, and we listen. Its lessons are gentle, eternal, and soothing, guiding us into peace, into reflection, into rest. The story of Pompeii has carried us across time, through its streets and villas, its people and rituals, its final hours, and its rediscovery centuries later. And now, as the city rests beneath the mountain's shadow, so too may you rest, cradled by the same stillness, the same peace that holds Pompeii in memory. Take a slow breath in, and let it go. Feel your body soften, just as the city softened beneath the quiet fall of ash. Imagine yourself walking once more along Pompeii's main street. The stones are smooth beneath your feet, worn by countless footsteps long ago. The air is warm, filled with the faint fragrance of bread, olives, and flowers. You hear the trickle of a fountain at the corner, its water sparkling in the sunlight. Children laugh nearby, merchants call gently from their stalls, neighbors greet one another with quiet warmth. You walk slowly, unhurried. Each step carries you deeper into calm, deeper into rest. You pass the forum, its columns rising tall against the sky. Lamps glow in the colonnades, their flames soft and steady. Beyond, the temple of Jupiter watches over the city, serene and eternal. You bow your head in quiet reverence, then continue, your heart light, your mind calm. The streets grow quieter as you move on. You step into a villa, its atrium open to the sky. Sunlight streams into the pool at its center, rippling upon the water. Frescoes bloom upon the walls, gardens painted with endless flowers, God smiling gently from painted heavens. The air is cool, still, filled with peace. You sit for a while, your body resting, your breath slow and steady. From here, you step once more into the world outside the city walls. Fields stretch before you, golden with grain. Vineyards spread in neat rows, grapes heavy with sweetness. Olive trees sway in the breeze, their silver leaves whispering softly. Beyond it all rises Mount Vesuvius, vast and still, its slopes bathed in golden light. Though you know its power, in this moment it is only silent, majestic, eternal. You feel safe here. You feel calm. You feel connected to the rhythms of life that have always been. The cycles of harvest, the rise and fall of the sun, the turning of seasons. You know that life is fragile, but also that life is enduring, flowing onward like the tide, returning like the dawn. Now imagine walking toward the Bay of Naples. The sea glimmers under the fading light, waves rising and falling in their steady rhythm. Fishermen's boats drift upon the surface, their nets drying in the breeze. Children play at the shore, skipping stones, their laughter carried by the wind. You stand at the water's edge, watching the horizon glow with the last light of day. The tide moves in and out, a lullaby as old as time. As you listen to the sea, let your breath match its rhythm. In like the tide rising. Out like the tide retreating. In and out slow, steady calm. The story of Pompeii has been long, yet it ends not in sorrow but in peace. For though the city rests in silence, its memory remains bright, enduring, eternal. And so too, in this moment, may you rest in silence, preserved in peace, your body heavy, your thoughts soft, your spirit calm. Imagine now that you return to the city one final time, not as it was in its last hours, but as it lives in memory. The lamps glow warmly in the streets. The fountains murmur softly. Music drifts from a courtyard, the gentle strum of a lyre. Families gather in their homes, sharing meals, offering prayers, speaking in soft voices. The city is alive again, not in ash, but in your imagination, in your dreams. You walk through its streets, past villas, markets, temples, and baths. You greet its people with a smile, and they smile back, their faces kind, familiar, timeless. You feel not like a visitor, but like one of them, at home, at peace, part of the city's gentle rhythm. And as night falls, you find a place to rest within Pompeii. You lie down upon a soft couch, beneath a painted ceiling of stars. A lamp flickers nearby, its flame steady, casting golden light upon the walls. You close your eyes,